Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. Coming to you live from the work truck. Is it just me or does your vehicle for work just keep getting loaded up more and more with tools? Holy cow, this remodel from Hey, let's heck with the remodel. Let's talk about Jamie Dimon and this warning about a coming panic. I completely agree with him. We're going to talk about the bond market and why you haven't seen anything yet. And I know a lot of people get very confused because I've been warning people about interest rates going higher. Well, I've been right the whole time, but they have not gone over that 10% threshold that I've been talking about. Now, when I talk about interest rates, primarily I'm talking about mortgage rates, right? Even though there's all kinds of different types of interest rates tied to different types of loans, but the mortgage rates are the most important because that has to deal with that affects our wealth effect, right? If primarily people have this good positive wealth effect in their mind because their house is worth a bunch, and they have access to credit and they're out there blowing money that they can't afford, quite frankly, the economy's doing well, but it's not doing well because mortgage rates are on the high end of the spectrum when you look at the last 10 years, 15 years, and then home prices are suffering and people are upset. The problem is our bond market, it is at a multi-hundred-year high, and we have some problems. So the story is out of Market Watch, and it's entitled, "You Are Gonna Panic." Jamie Dimon tells regulators about what will happen when the bond market cracks. Now, I have to say something. 99% of you get it. You understand. The people that have been watching this channel have been getting into gold, silver, cryptos, Bitcoins, things like that. You've been killing it because you've seen that long-term cycle that we talked about 3 or 4 years ago. But there are some people that have zero clue. I'll give you an example. This title that I just read to you from Market Watch, this is a direct quote from Jamie Dimon. I'll use those words in the title. People are like, this is a clickbait. And I'm like, no, I'm literally using the title for my title of the story that I'm going to use to teach you how you're going to absolutely crush it during this panic wave that sets in from the bond market. All right. It says here, the bond market is on edge, but less so this week after smooth treasury auctions and talk of a key banking reform this summer. Says Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan Chase's long-standing chief executive. By the way, he's been selling his stock for the first time ever. Okay, that should tell you something. Fired off a warning about the bond market on Friday, telling regulators that they will panic when it happens. He said, quote, "You are going to see a crack in the bond market, okay?" I feel like Joe Biden when I say end quote. Dimon said, speaking at an event organized by the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation, he said, it is going to happen. Excuse me. So he says this, and I tell this to my regulators, some of who are in this room. I'm telling you this is going to happen and you are going to panic. I completely agree. See, what's happening right now that we have not seen ever in my lifetime is countries around the world are being forced to buy less US treasuries, and even some of them are now selling theirs that they have held for a very long time because their economies are in trouble. So they are trying to firm up their own balance sheets by buying their own currencies, and to do this, to take them off the market, make them stronger, some of them. Others are just printing wildly and devaluating it because of a trade war, because everything's going to crap in a handbasket. But again, this is a slow-moving train wreck. Says here, a sharp bond sell-off in April has kept investors on edge and rattled White House officials. President Donald Trump, during a peak tumult, said that bond investors were getting yippy. You know, this isn't even something to joke around about. But then again, a lot of people sort of blow this off as, short-term volatility, or it's okay, the S&P over time will always go up. It does, but what people don't realize is those little ups and down waves over a long period of time, because your currency is being destroyed because it keeps getting printed and devalued, right? What happens is during those little ups and down ticks, people are losing their jobs, people are losing their homes. It's incredible. And I see a lot of people that say in the comments, they're like, you're overreacting. I'm like, I see only that kind of chatter from people that are barely making it, or they think they're making it, because they've got a nice house and a nice car, but they maybe got like 10 or 20 grand in the bank and they think they're all that. They have no clue about cycles and how these work. The bond market is in serious trouble. It's always in trouble when you have a lack of buyers. It's like the real estate market right now. It's all over the news. The real estate market is in serious trouble. There is way more, like what, 3 times the amount of homes than there are buyers right now. That's not going to bode well in the coming months. This is something I've been warning about for a very long time. Oh, I want to remind everyone, if you want to sign up for the newsletter, I'm going to put a link down below. We push out an email like 2 or 3 times a week with all of the videos, all of that stuff. And thank you to everybody that's been hitting the subscribe button. You have made me so stoked. I can see 600,000 subs and I'm so excited. Thank you so much for blessing me with that by hitting that subscribe button. Now, this I want to come over here into this one section in the story talking about Bessent. And it says Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has been very vocal about wanting to see a lower 10-year bond yield, which could help unthaw the housing market and ease credit conditions. To that end, Bessent said work was being done with the U.S. banking regulators on potential changes to the supplementary leverage ratio that he noted that results could come as soon as this summer. Excuse me. So the point there, and this is what you really need to understand, there's 2 ways that we're going to see lower yields. First, if there's a market sell-off and panic in equities and a run to safety into the bond market where you'd have more buyers and sellers, thus diving the rates down. Another way is if the Fed starts to buy the bonds and it will be artificial demand because the Fed eventually, as those bonds accumulate on their balance sheet, they need to get them off. It's like any business that we would run when a bank's looking at us, they would sit there and go, well, you've got all this stuff on your balance sheet. How much money are you bringing in? You're like, oh, I don't know. You owe a lot of money. And they would want that off because the Fed still needs to do work with other central banks and how it's viewed. Other countries are looking at our currency and how it's viewed. Well, if ours, because we like to mock China, right? Because China is always, expanding their money supply and devaluing their currency so that they become more valuable. So we'll buy their crap from Walmart. It's the same thing. Other countries would look at us and go, whoa, you're just a fake version of yourself. It's all an illusion. So now let's get to how are you going to make money from this? You see, a bond market, a stock market going down signals a recession, right? Ultimately, when things really fall apart and stocks collapse, you can lead to a depression. It's the bond market that actually creates a depression. The reason why is because if the bond market cracks, that's the stability of the currency. And that's when things hyperinflate, people can't afford anything. And that's a very scary time to be in. And technically, because we're at multi-100-year highs, this crack is a big one when it happens. And if you think about it this way, since the year 2000, even though mortgage rates went up to like the 7 range in 2006, 2007, around there, and they rose again like around 2015 for just a little bit of time, and now we're high again. Ever since the year 2000, we have had artificially low rates where the Federal Reserve has dove in and bought up a ton of securities that were just total junk and garbage. And then slowly what they did with those, they didn't just get rid of them like poof, they're gone. They sold them into your pension fund. And what's really scary about that is what you don't realize is everybody's got their hand in your pension fund. I'm just curious, type yes or no if you've got a pension or not. And even for the ones that say, hey, I don't have one, it doesn't affect me. It does, because I'll give you an example. For every dollar you put in your pension, the government figured out this really slick way of convincing you to give them money, a free loan for the term of before you start pulling money out, right? And it's this massive Ponzi scheme. It's a huge pyramid. And so what they're doing is for every dollar they're giving you, what they're doing is, or you put in the Ponzi scheme, they're saying, hey, you're going to put it in there because you're going to save, 20 or 30 cents on the dollar in taxes. You're like, oh, diving in there, right? Because you're getting crushed in taxes. And then what happens is there's all these money managers and fund managers that are taking little bits of that dollar. Now you think it's growing because the value of the stock market's going up, right? But in the last 25 years, please understand this: all the stock market indices were cut in half. It happened from 2006 to 2010. Everything fell in half, by half, all the indexes. And if you were in single stocks, you got completely annihilated. Then and then also during the dot-com crash, it got cut in half. Now, the reason why, and we had a sharp drop during COVID, the reason why didn't see everything fall apart was because the amount of money that was printed. That's why you are seeing things hyperinflate, like Bitcoin and gold. If you could I mean, this is a real deal. A lot of people go, gold's not hyperinflating. It is. On a percentage basis, it's hyperinflating. If you look at the definition, of hyperinflation, by and large, you can't really get a lot of economists agree. However, a lot of economists throughout the past agree, hey, you know what, it's 25% year over year rise in price. So gold is hyperinflating to the dollar. So is Bitcoin. Real estate has been hyperinflating. And now that's cracking, because when it comes to, it's an interesting paradox. Real estate is based off of prices, perception, but also cash flow. And when cash flow doesn't make sense, the pool of buyers dries up. And this is a very, very scary thing. I hope this is making sense to you. And how you make money during these times is you hold those inflation hedges. And then as everything comes crashing down, you start buying up the stuff that you couldn't believe people were buying in the first place, but they walk away from it. I know it sounds funny. You're not like super pumped, or maybe you are, for a collectible or a vehicle, right? But the truth is, and I always use the Ferrari example because I saved up to buy a Ferrari when I was like 26 years old, because all I cared about was impressing people. I've learned my lesson from that, okay? And but when I saved up for the Ferrari, instead I bought, a diesel truck for my construction business and my house flipping business, and I bought a replica Ferrari. I still wanted to look fancy. Never even drove the thing. Barely drove. But my point being is that when the 2008 crisis came, the real F355 had went from like 60 grand for the same amount of miles, same year and everything, to the lowest one I saw was like $25,000. I know it sounds crazy to imagine buying a 1996 F355 Ferrari, but that is really what they were going for. People just lost their minds. I was buying tractors and stuff for pennies on the dollar compared to what they were a couple years ago, and I was flipping them and doubling, tripling, quadrupling my price, because all I was doing was taking advantage of a panic. I was buying something from someone that was just losing their mind, losing their house, or like, I just got to sell my crap. And so I bought it, and then I would market it properly to somebody that wasn't losing all their stuff. See, the truth is, during a market crash, not everyone is losing. On the contrary, it's just a small percentage, but then it creates a panic and a recession where people regress and they slow down their spending, or they go, oh, I'm not going to do anything. And it just creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, like a snowball getting bigger and bigger as it goes down the hill. All right, I'm going to let you go. Thank you to everyone that's been hitting the subscribe button. You're awesome. And thank you for signing up for the newsletter. So we can still keep getting all the videos out to you. And when I make a money move, I let you guys know there. All right, with that being said, the Economic Ninja is out.